Hey guys, welcome to B-Side Reality. We are Panda.
And Issel, and we are a couple who can't get enough of reality TV.
This channel is our space to dissect the drama, the chaos, and the wild moments.
From our favorite shows, and hopefully yours too.
So grab a snack
Settle in,
and
and
let's
let's
dive
dive
in.
in. What are we talking about today?
I think we are talking about Valley.
Yeah.
That's the show, right?
Yeah, so we've been watching it, but we are dropping right into, I think it might be episode 6 or 7.
This show Valley has always been for me a residual effect from Vanderpump Rules. It's more like extension when you have been associated with Vanderpump Rules for a long time, and the show has ended, and now like you still miss it sometimes, and you go to Valley. It's more like that.
I think the idea actually was Vanderpump Rules really fun when they were young and messy, but they're all kind of getting to an age where ideally they're a little bit too old to have certain kinds of problems play out. So I think the original idea was to have the Valley for the original, but of course there's been a lot of controversy and they've kind of lost people. I mean, they did bring back Kristen and Jax, who were problematic in Vanderpump Rules, but yeah.
Tom and Sheena and Lala and a few others are just guest characters making guest appearances to give you
Yeah.
Vanderpump Rules kind of feel.
Like,
But most of the times they're just like there for props.
so I heard actually that Vanderpump Rules is gonna get an entirely new cast because they had the whole thing with like Ariana and Tom Sandoval and how like they couldn't basically film a season together because in some ways that's what a reality TV show does. It brings people together, it forces them to work together, but they went through something really intense and she couldn't work with him. And so it was awkward to be sharing space with him because that's what the show demands of them.
That feels legit because these OG cast members are too old to work in those roles anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
they're big shots now.
But that being said, I think the
They used to be
Valley.
nobodies.
Yeah, but that being said, the Valley was initially supposed to be Jax, Kristen, and like this whole new group of friends. And so Sheena and Lala, as far as I know, were not part of that original cast. But it seems like now that that show may be going with a new cast, they're trying to find an in to this show. So we have been seeing Sheena pop up in a few of episodes, not just this one, but the one previous to that. And then I think this is the first time that I'm seeing Lala in this show.
Tom. Tom Schwartz.
Tom, we have seen before. I wonder, is Schwartz also trying to get like a full time thing here? We can only speculate, but for sure.
They're making appearances in after shows too.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they are not there in that situation or condition, but still they are there to react on them.
Yeah.
That speaks volume.
Jax is still pretty close, maybe, to Schwartz, and so it makes sense that this is happening. Is Lala and Sheena, are they close to much of the people in the cast right now? I don't know. I don't keep up with them outside of the show, so it's hard to say.
She's pretty close to Michelle.
I guess we did see that, right? In the previous episode, she was on a walk with her. Back to this episode, everyone is back from their trip to Santa Barbara, where the biggest thing was Danny was drinking. He went into the pantry, kind of closed the door behind him, and drank some more alcohol. And Janet, Jasmine, they're talking about how there's a problem and why are we keeping a secret. Brittany was part of this. Even though Jax is in rehab right now, her story is out there for everyone. Jasmine and Melissa are in the car. They're talking about how Jasmine is still feeling triggered by what she experienced. So
I think Britney is the one who reacted the most aggressively to that situation.
she has very strong feelings because literally like so much of her life is out there being publicized and talked about, but they're kind of weird about this drinking problem.
Yes, but the one who is at the receiving end of this is Jasmine because of that Halloween situation when Danny behaved in a certain way inappropriately to her and her girlfriend. Maybe she has not yet accepted it fully, not moved past it yet.
That is basically what Jasmine and Melissa are vocalizing here, that even though there's been an apology, there's still something there. She acknowledges it explicitly, like, I'm still triggered.
But has she expressed it explicitly to Danny about it?
They had another party, the white party or
Yeah.
something, where he did apologize, but I don't know how much or how long they really talked about that and why it bothered her. So there's still some feelings there.
And this drinking thing triggered it again.
Yeah, we just know that she's still upset about it. She still needs resolution. She needs more still. We then have Nia, who is met up with Michelle. They're doing something with the kids. And Michelle is telling Nia that Isabel, her daughter, had told her something like, I know you were married and it didn't work out. Mommy, if you want to get married to Aaron, Jesse has to go.
That's so mature of her to say that, even to be able to comprehend such complexities of a marriage.
That's such a weird thing. Like, did she paraphrase this? Like, why is this child able to talk about the intricacies of their marriage and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I know that dad didn't make you happy or something?
I would have very much liked this to be filmed, and I want to listen to her saying that on camera. That would have made my day.
I find it to be questionable that that is what's said, because they have this ongoing thing where Michelle has an issue with Jesse moving on so quickly with this new person in his life, and like his partner taking on a more motherly role for Isabel. They're both kind of...
I think I remember. It is more like Isabella is not supposed to call Jesse's new girlfriend as the other mom or something like that, because in her mind, Michelle's mind, that for a child to accept somebody as mom is very sensitive thing, and they get attached to that thing, and taking that away from her and then introducing someone new to it. So that's like trauma, like divorce in itself, the separation of parents. Why you can't stay together, why I can't be with mom and dad together. You're already exposing the kid to it a lot, and then again it's introducing new people, and they can be heartbroken.
But you can say that about both parents. Like, you shouldn't rush to get a new mother in the picture.
And that is true for both Michelle and
Yes.
Jesse. Like,
So this thing where she's like, oh no, Isabel is basically saying, let's get Jesse out. Let's get dad out. Let's get Aaron in. That feels weird. Like, it
Yeah.
feels like, is that really true? How is this child able to like say any of these things? And do they understand what they're saying?
or they're just reciprocating how like moms and dads are behaving.
Yeah, like you could just be like repeating what mom is saying. At the end of the day, like it's hard to know, because I don't know if it was really said or Michelle is just putting it out there and hoping that people believe it, that like Isabel is okay with me moving on and getting Aaron into the picture. Ultimately, I don't know what to make of it, but like it was weird for me to like watch it.
True.
Moving forward, we have Luke, Jason, Danny. They are meeting for a burger, and oh my god, the burgers actually look they look fucking amazing. I'm like trying to take a break from red meat right now, but ooh, that burger. It looked good. Kinda, you don't eat red meat, so I'm like thinking, like, is there anything that we could get there? Because we are actually trying to figure out like if we can go down to LA and like have a little foodie trip. Anywhere I go, I need to have an option for Panda.
Believe me, I'm happy with beer and French fries.
Okay, well, I mean, if you really enjoy that, sure, fine. As they are there, Jason is basically quick to kind of get into the topic of like, hey, Danny.
It kind of feel pre-planned, like as if Jason arranged it all to confront Danny over there. I don't think it came up in the conversation. No, I think it was back in the mind of Jason to confront him at that point.
For sure. I mean, I think like every single time there's a camera up, they have already thought about like, what are we filming that's going to make
agenda is
this
set.
dramatic and entertaining for the show. The most recent thing has been Danny and his drinking.
And how Danny and Nia try to keep it behind the curtains, and everybody else's life is exposed, and everybody's bare and naked, and these people pretend to be perfect.
Yes, I don't even know that it's true that Nia is trying to hide it. Like, maybe it's potentially that, like, maybe Danny is hiding it. I don't know. Like, one, is there even a problem? Because if we think about that night and think about this show in general, everything they do to bond and have fun is drinking. In the previous season of The Valley, everyone was drinking. In this current season of The Valley, Jesse was getting drunk. Like, he was drinking. He was
hammered.
Yeah, what was it, 8:30 a.m. in the morning or whatever? He was already
He
drinking.
doesn't care about the cameras. He's moving in undies and briefs and stuff like that. He doesn't care.
Like, maybe you can say something about how they wouldn't just say it exactly, that like he's drunk. It took a long time for that to come out. But is this a drinking problem, especially on national TV? That's such a big accusation to throw out there. So it's either one, they know something more behind the scenes that has not been televised yet, and the messiness of like, I know things that the public doesn't know, but I'm gonna put it out there. Or two, this is all for reality TV. None of it is real, but I'm putting it out there. You are still gonna suffer even though it's not real.
You know, there are two kind of drinking problems. extremes. One in which you genuinely consume more alcohol and it is injurious to your health, but you're not causing any harm to others. And there is another kind when you are not taking copious amount of alcohol to be doing something wrong to you, but those few are making you unstable and you're causing a public nuisance and affecting
Right.
the peace and decorum of the situation.
Right, like that whole Halloween incident,
Okay.
you saying, like, calling yourself
Because
daddy or
I
whatever.
clearly think Jesse has a more drinking problem than Danny. But just that Jesse can handle it to certain level without affecting others to that level. But although I could see the way he was speaking to Jason, the way he was hammered and he was following up, are you okay? He was checking on him and he was like, fuck off, get the fuck out of my face or something like that. Okay? So,
Yeah.
But he started drinking at 8:30 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, say what you will about Danny trying to catch up.
Yeah.
Like, maybe he caught up too fast and he's a dad and he
He
doesn't
barely
have
gets a
it
chance
anymore.
to drink, but he should also know, as Jason said later on in the after show thing, that if you cause something like this, when you call someone as friend and you behave like that, and you also disrespect not only them but also their significant other in a public setting, and that's should say something about how well you can handle your drinks and not.
Yeah, but to go as far as like I have a substance abuse problem, people throwing that out there, I'm not sure. But yeah, the way that he acts, the way that he's able to actually handle alcohol when it's
Maybe
in
you're
the
a
system,
2-drink person and there is nothing wrong in it. A lot of people are.
I think that is a valid point. However, I feel like Jason's approach about it, there was something about it seemed like, is this really genuinely a concern for you? Because like the Valley producers, they put it out there. Hey, remember, I don't know, around that time, he was in the pool and he was acknowledging that this wasn't really a big deal. In the after show, he said, hey, I was also drunk that night. I could also look back in hindsight and be like, my opinion can change. Like maybe it was a problem. So do you think he was legitimate in his concern? Was it really valid?
I never felt for even 1 second that he was aggressively confronting that to Dan. He was pretty much having a normal conversation and Danny took it very defensively. And he was like, why are you coming after me? And you could have listened to her. He was not saying anything publicly crucifying him. You have to maybe say sorry more. And Danny's like, don't teach me what I'm supposed to do. I've done it. Like, what do you want? I will apologize. I'll apologize. But don't say it in my face so many times.
I have to disagree that he's not publicly crucifying him because this is televised. Like what you plan to say in front of the camera, no one can point this out within the cast, right? Like you're breaking the fourth wall to acknowledge that. What is a narrative that people decide to put in front of the camera? I think his approach, like maybe it was good, but like it took a while to kind of build up to, hey, the way that you treated Jasmine. The way that he started is, that was weird. You're drinking alcohol and you're doing it in the pantry? Is that really significant?
It took some time to establish this fact whether that was a chug or a swig. That was funny. No, that was a swig. No, that was a chug. You chugged a bottle. Like it took some time for Danny to establish that he didn't chug a whole bottle because that was what everybody was. After Janet's statement, he went into the pantry and chugged tequila bottles. Like everybody had this image in their mind that he finished the whole bottle of tequila and then got hammered and skipped the whole dinner thing.
A lot of people have mentioned, was he genuinely saying like, oh yeah, in hindsight, my opinion changed really because I thought that, or because, oh, well, Janet's taking this direction, and so as a supportive husband, I'm taking her side. It reminds me of that Key and Peele thing where like, it's like Megan, right?
Right.
And she like will say like really rude things. She will push. She will like be hostile, and then her boyfriend will have to like step in. It will turn into a physical confrontation, and like Megan doesn't have to deal with the consequences. And
to be honest, I get the same feeling from Luke and Kristen.
True. Exactly. I had the same thought because, okay, we'll actually pause on that. But yeah, it's true for Luke and Kristen too.
So it's more like Luke and Kristen and Janet and Jason. They're more like, okay, we love our wives and our life is perfect. But they're more like, okay, wherever my wife is, I'm there. And Nia and Danny, they're perfect. There is equal balance in the relationship. And Michelle and Brittany, they hate their husbands.
Okay, honestly, I was feeling this like
wow, I just summarized the Valley.
When we were in that Santa Barbara like vacation or whatever, the way that everything was unfolding for Nia, for me it felt like they're really starting to understand what it means to be on reality TV and unable to hide certain aspects of your life, because this is kind of what you signed up for. Like if you have something that you're going through and you're not bringing that to the show, that's what everyone gets angry about.
After they confronted her, she came out when Danny was sleeping and my friends are attacking me, it's beyond me. And then I think she spilled this thing like, we are going through couple therapy also. We are also struggling with our relationship. It's not easy to go with kids and manage everything. We have our own share of things. But we think you're perfect because we don't get any exposure to that. I can understand the resentment of other cast members, how they feel, like how open and exposed they are, while others have a different notion of your life.
So, given that, do you think that this moment where Jason is talking to Danny about Santa Barbara, do you think he genuinely was concerned about Jasmine? Do you think that he would have approached it in this way if it hadn't been for Janet, or would he have approached it a different way?
I think Janet's opinion has a strong force which steamrolled all this, because I thought they always are good friends. They could have handled it much more friendlierly. Yeah, I could see that. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't actually know that they have a long friendship. We saw that long, solid friendship in the Vanderpump Rules cast. I don't know that these people are necessarily the same. Maybe parts of them, like, again, Kristen and Jax, slept with each other, and now they see each other as brother and sister. It's so weird.
I think in LA, everybody knows everyone.
I guess maybe. I mean, like, these are all like a group of people who maybe want to be on a reality TV show.
Yeah.
Moving on, we get a video from Jax. It is apparently his 17th day in rehab, and he is just sobbing about wanting to see his son and see Brittany, and how, like, this whole experience at rehab is just allowing him to open up and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like he's in a prison with a lot of money where he can afford phones and drugs. You could get high and rage text your wife. The most interesting thing that caught my eye is, like, he's filming himself and sending it to the production.
Yeah, this is a little
He's
different.
signing apartment lease, making videos.
He has the ability to control the narrative.
This is not a surprise to us. Like, we know him.
We do not know.
Okay.
So you didn't take anything that he said in that video seriously?
He always has this way of talking on camera and off camera. When the camera is on, he has a different persona. When the camera is off, he has a different persona. And everything he says and do in front of camera is pretty premeditated. He knows what exact effect it is going to have on people. He's a master manipulator.
See, like, I know you said that we know Jax already, and I nodded my head vigorously when you said that. At the same time, I watched that video and I was like, look at him tearing up. Like, I feel like I don't actually have the read on him. I think at some point in the after show, maybe Lala was saying, like, once you've met a narcissist, you know them. And I know he's an asshole. I know he's done wrong things. I know what he's doing now is incredibly fucked up. At the same time, I don't think I'm able to look at him and be like, this is not a man in remorse. I did feel it.
You should agree. He has moved past the word redemption. He's having goals before going to rehab. When is the line getting drawn? When it is enough is enough?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we learn more in this episode about what he has done too, but I just don't know what a narcissist is and how that works, and I would be very susceptible, very vulnerable, I think, to a narcissist, because I just don't know.
People have paid much more for far little than what Jax is doing. Kudos to Brittany or anyone who has put up with Jax. It's tough to watch.
We're getting now to Brittany at her place, preparing for the shark party, and she's giving Kristen and Luke a recap of what happened, where she and Jax met up. He could actually meet Cruz, and Jax was letting her know about his plan to get a condo next door to Tom Schwartz. Also talking about how he's able to watch her, right? Again, like, part of me is like recognizing how freaking crazy that is, but at some point they also have a video montage showing, like, where Brittany and Jax started and how magical and how so in love they were to where it is now. And maybe I'm in the mind of Brittany when that happened, because that's the question, right? Like, how is it that someone like Jax can do things over and over again? She knew who she was marrying, right? I can understand also, like, maybe there is a part of her mind who thinks he's trying, who looks at him and sees it, and then suddenly wakes up and is like, oh wow, this is exactly who you are dangerous.
Do you think the financial, because they're doing a lot of things together, podcast, and they also had that show, Brittany and Jax, in Brittany's hometown, those things are keeping them attached, apart from the fact that they share a child together?
I have to believe that there was genuine love there from Brittany's side, and maybe from Jack's side, that she
Really?
kept coming back to him. Okay, fine, from Brittany's side.
Okay.
That kept her in the relationship as long as she did. For me, I'm naive enough, and maybe that's where Brittany was coming from too. So yeah, we get an update about Jax and his plans to move into a condo next door to Schwartz. And so this is like frustrating because, as you said, he's able to do this as he's in rehab. That's a big decision, a lot of money. It's also a loss of money, a great loss of money for Brittany, who's been renting out a space rather than living in the house, because Jax has insisted in living in that home.
Asking your wife and kid to be somewhere else. That speaks volume. How much you care about your kid.
And this comes up in the after show. He decided to go to a condo because he wanted Brittany and Cruz to have the home for stability and stuff, and that he cares about his son, blah, blah, blah. But, like, that's not been her reality for the past few months anyways. Like, she's been renting Airbnb. She took him out of the stable home. He has autism, and how does that affect him more? Having to shift from one location to another. Jax is calling out like, hey, she's been living comfortably. These are expensive mansions that she's renting out. For Brittany, it's like, I'm trying to give him a semblance of home. And part of me is like, honestly, if you're broke, you're broke. I also get that what Jax was doing, you're saying these things, but you already forced her out of the house, okay?
True.
So then we have Danny meeting up with Jasmine and Melissa. He's having to sit down, trying to come from a place of like understanding. And I really think it's sincere for Danny to realize like, oh, this is what's happening for you. Like, you're having to defend your relationship given that you are like a lesbian couple who isn't taken seriously. As Jasmine said, like, she didn't need to hear an apology again, but like, I don't think they really had enough time in that white party to break down like why it hurt her so much. Yeah. He said sorry, but he didn't really
understand.
understand.
More of like in passing.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about it.
I think that they are all actually genuinely able to move on. And I think of Danny as a good person. We've already called out, Jason might be right, that like, if you know that you can be inappropriate when you've had a few drinks, maybe cut it down to like 1 or 2 drinks so that you're not quite spiraling.
True.
Spiraling is not the word. So yeah,
Getting lost.
Yeah. That was a good moment.
Yeah.
And then we have Kristen, Luke, and Jesse meeting up for, I think, a brunch.
Just to bitch about others. They again talked about Jason confronting Danny, and Kristen is like, if you're coming after Danny and Nia, I'm coming after you.
She repeats a rumor from 1 or 2 years ago, apparently, about how Jason takes his ring off when he goes out. Luke is so unhappy with her the moment she says this stuff out loud, because it's a rumor. It's so old. Like, you know what you're doing by putting that out. And so I think Kristen has, like, acknowledged it too. It's a pretty petty move, but, like, Danny and Nia are not petty enough to do that. So she's going to do it. Like, she's going to bring the fire where they wouldn't. She really has a lot of issues with Janet. And the way that Janet was in the first season, she was like super dramatic and extra about certain things. I think it's valid that like Kristen would be upset about it. But I know Zach is really bothered by that. And we had an earlier scene in the season where he was apologizing. While I don't think that it's okay that like you don't care for a pregnant person, in that moment where he was venting to his friend Brittany and whoever was in the room, like he said, I don't care. And then someone was like, well, you should care, she's pregnant. And he's like, I don't care. Like, I kind of get his sentiment that like, hey, I'm just here to vent. Please just care about me in this moment. Like, just because she's pregnant doesn't mean that I'm not hurt and that I don't get to feel hurt. So I think that's where I take issue with everything. And I appreciate Kristen basically going against Janet. This kind of was blown out of proportion. Brittany could have shared this message with Janet. She didn't have to drop that news on her when she is still pregnant. Like, he wasn't in the room.
It's
she
chopped up sentence, you know. You chop a sentence and make it a weapon.
Yeah, like, wait until later. But also, like, he
and
is
also,
your friend.
Janet should not be stirring the pot when she's pregnant.
If that's what keeps this show going, cool. But Zach being iced out of that trip, that was not fair. And
that's
I get
their way of
hurt.
getting back at people.
Yeah.
Either they'll use rumor as a weapon, or they'll uninvite you from certain things and making you feel like a social outcast.
Yeah.
That's their way of getting back at you.
Yeah, and maybe again for a show like this, does this have larger implications of like, I'm not getting paid because
I have
I'm
less
not...
screen time.
Yes. 1, like, there's that. But 2, I think he was genuinely hurt and no one wanted to hear about it. All because she's pregnant and you're not allowed to be hurt. I think that's freaking ridiculous. So I am on Zach's side in some ways that he didn't vent to her. He vented to another group of friends and he just needed to hear some reassurance, okay?
Janet Kristen, Sheena, they never have any problem promoting and propagating all this rumors which are unverified facts, and they don't care about how this is going to affect anybody, but they just blob it out, you know, just to be in the forefront and relevant.
Yeah. But yeah, Luke doesn't like this because obviously,
They're
excuse me.
also in midst of starting a family and getting pregnant, and it's time to have good thoughts, calmness.
It was incredibly petty. I'm just gonna call it as
We
what it
just saw
was.
Kristen crying, how they both were emotional.
Yeah.
She missed her ovulation period or something like that. And
Yeah. So there's that. And then we move on to the shark party. Jason is realizing what has happened and that his approach was wrong with Danny. And so he is getting himself ready to confront Danny and basically apologize. When I listened to Jason's apology, it seemed really sincere. I still feel like he's defending it. I do think it was a sincere apology. And I really hope all is actually well between Jason and Danny, regardless of
I think
how.
so too. I think they're fine. Danny also realized that more or less he was saying it to confront Jasmine again and apologize more. Listen to what she has to say, help her move on. Jason also realized that he could have approached this situation a little bit better.
Because of Nia's confessional, I still feel like Janet was a stronger force there for how he approached it, when he approached it, why he approached it. While he can be sincere here, there is still that aspect of it.
Yeah.
We also see at the shark party Jesse getting into it with Lala.
What
Jesse's
was
talking
Jesse
about
expecting Lala to do?
Jesse was wanting to have like another child, but like obviously there's been.
Jesse's trying so hard to have people in his team.
I don't know what to make of that scene, but watching Sheena just like come into the picture, stand there, look, not add anything to the conversation, I could not take it seriously. It was so ridiculous. Like, I was just like, you're so desperate for screen time. Like, you definitely want to be in this show, but what was that? It was so awkward and cringy to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only thing that I really wanted to talk about in this scene. Not even really Jesse and Lala, other than that was the context.
Yes.
And then we finally have a scene where Kristen is talking with Jason and Janet about what she blurted out about Jason.
That didn't hold for long.
Ja-
It just crumbled on its own weight.
At some point, Jasmine is called over, and I do think it sucks because Jason has gone on Jasmine's behalf to get Danny to realize, like, hey, she's hurt. Ultimately, like, that is what gets Danny to have some kind of resolution with Jasmine, right?
That one ended right.
Nothing really comes from this rumor, but now it's just like very clear that Kristen and Janet are feuding and Luke and Jason are kind of caught up in it. Like back to that Megan, Key and Peele skit, even though it was Kristen who blurted out that rumor, starting that conversation, it was Luke really breaking down like how it happened.
True.
It doesn't seem like anyone else believes this, and based on vibes, I feel like Jason is not that kind of person.
I don't think anybody cared. Janet is not unsettled. Who's there to fan this fire?
In the after show, Janet said it herself. She clocked that Jason didn't seem or appear to feel guilty or like on edge.
That's what I'm saying. If your wife is not taking this rumor seriously, who else is going to?
True.
The only one who is a stakeholder to this whole rumor is your wife. She's not paying attention to it. It's not fanning this fire.
All it did was fan the fire of like the feud between Janet and Kristen.
Yeah.
The last thing that does happen is we see Brittany sitting down with Jasmine and Schwartz. Schwartz starts out talking about how he feels like Jax is like really going through a transformation with this rehab stint, and
Boy's boy, man.
yeah. After that, Brittany's like, actually, I'm hearing that as of today, in August, Jax has not been paying the mortgage since May. And then in the after show,
That was a shocker.
we hear that he actually hasn't paid it since February when she moved out.
My God.
Yeah, and so her credit is potentially destroyed. A lot of money that like needs to be paid back. They could potentially lose the house, right? If they're not
Yeah.
paying. Schwartz is like shocked. He swears they're not in cahoots. I don't know. Like you said, like they have the boys chat. They are still close
And that's
friends.
not the boys' locker room chat. We have seen in Vanderpump Rules, Schwartz is the only one to fold in the end. when there is no way. Otherwise, they bury a lot of secrets together. They have already done it in the past. So this all, maybe somebody who's watching Valley for the first time, they might not dissect this way, but those who have seen them in action before, they know everything.
You think it was news to Schwartz or no?
I think Jesse's the new Tom Sandoval. I could see the trio again.
Why is Schwartz always getting a scene here, but Sandoval is not? Because I don't know. Like Sandoval and Jax have always had a pretty rocky friendship.
Yeah, I don't think Jax is in contact with Sandoval anymore.
Yeah.
It's only...
There was a brief moment when Vanderpump Rules, like the last season that they had, where I was seeing them all together in a room and they seemed friendly. But that's how it always is. Where it's like they're laughing, but like Jax still harbors some kind of feelings. And maybe Sandoval does too. But like, I don't know.
They always used to compete that I am the main character, you are the main character. They always used to struggle like the big D energy in the room.
Oh my god!
Remember?
Yes! Freaking classic. I don't even remember the line anymore.
Tom Schwartz used to be the pacifier between them. Like, hey guys, we are all friends. And
except to his wife.
Yeah.
I still genuinely laugh at a lot of scenes where Jack, Sandoval, and Schwartz are in a room together. Their old antics. I still find it so hilarious. But they have been so horrible. Such horrible men.
I know.
We basically end on a video montage of Jax and Brittany. It's just wild to have seen as an audience kind of the start of their relationship, how hard it was for Jax to kind of finally move on from Stassi. I don't know, maybe it wasn't that hard. I don't know. He was he has a problem with being faithful, right? But there was all this excitement about Brittany and Jax coming together, and you saw they're dating, you saw them getting married, you saw them visiting Brittany's family. There was such a journey for them, and now it's over, and it's so crazy. I wonder, will they ever be friends? Like, I remember actually when the last season of VPR was happening, there was the thought that like, oh, like the Valley is safe. Like there's not a question of the Valley coming back the way that it is with VPR, because Jax and Brittany, even though they may get a divorce, even though they're separating, like they're co-parenting, and there's probably a way for them to like stay together or something, and the show will stay intact. Is that still true? They have so many things with their podcast and a bar / pub or whatever. So I'm curious. I wonder what happened.
Yeah, me too.
That's pretty much it for this episode. Okay, well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of B-Side Reality.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We had a blast breaking it all down.
If you enjoyed the convo, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
See you soon with a brand new episode. Bye.
Bye.